Welcome back, Steeler Nation, to the Northern Steel Podcast. You can hear my sick voice, but it's still me, Dominic, on the microphone. And still with me is my guest, Derek Fletcher.
Greetings, people.
Oh, man. The cheers are still coming, Derek. Don't you hear them? The cheers are still loud.
Yeah.
All 5 of them maybe this time. Hey, maybe 6 people listening. It'd be really
Double
awesome.
digits.
If you guys didn't listen to last
digits.
week's episode, I said, welcome to episode 86. I was wrong. I'm a fool. That's why you guys didn't want to listen to it. It's this week. This week's 86. We're getting close to 100. What are we going to do at 100? Oh, man, just subscribe and find out. Donate some money. You'll find out. It'll be crazy, I'm sure. Anyways, we're here to talk about the Steelers win over the Commanders with my scratchy, raspy voice. We're going to talk about that insane win and preview the next games like we always do. But first, we got to go through the highlights. So, if you missed the Steelers and Commanders game because you're too busy filling out a fake ballot for Election Day in Washington, we have got you covered. Week 10 and these highlights don't start with a Chris Boswell field goal for once, and we aren't going to see a lot of them, but it does start with a nice pickup by Jaylen Warren. The Steelers are driving and in the red zone. Can they get some touchdowns on the board here? The answer is yes when you're throwing up a jump ball to George Pickens. I mean, I don't even have to have a joke here. This catch is insane, and Russ's moonball is exactly what Pickens needs to give him time to contort his body like a sick circus freak into catching this ball. He had to track it over 180, spin his body 180, and stretch out for the catch. I don't mean to be uncouth here, but my pants just got tighter. Touchdown for the Steelers on the first drive, and I may need a shower already. Ooh-wee. Later, after a drop fake punt by James Pierre that was right in his hands, the Commanders have to drive only 15 yards and cap it off with a rushing touchdown here to Austin Eckler. I mean, you live with the risk and you do a fake punt. It's set up perfectly, but leave it to a guy named Pierre to not know how to catch a ball like most men in France, I'm sure. Commanders, bring it up. 7-7. Oh, we wish to put America.
But oh, how the turntables as Southpaw punter Corliss Waitman punts it to Olamide Zacchaeus, and he muffs it. 1 of 2 on the day, and the Steelers recover, setting them up in the red zone, somewhere where they're not as good. But the boss man stays on the sidelines as Russell Wilson throws a danger witch to Freiermuth. Touchdown Steelers. They take a 14-7 lead. But the Commanders, they'll come back and they will answer with a field goal. Feels like a Steelers thing to do, but nonetheless, they kick a field goal, 14-10. And as this game gets going along, so does Jaden Daniels as he's humming and he throws a piss missile to the healthy, less famous McCaffrey, and they are now in the red zone. Will the red jerseys convert in the red zone? Yes, as it's deja vu, and Austin Eckler is back in the end zone. That guy likes scoring touchdowns, and he is not on my fantasy team. Going into half, Commanders had the lead. And yes, there's all these blocking things, cool techniques. Eckler, yeah, he ran in. I mean, yeah, he scored touchdowns, not that many yards.
Coming out of the half, and I smell something. Oh no, it's burnt toast as Terry catches another slant on JPJ and makes Minka miss, and he's off to the races. Thankfully, no speed, but what they're really doing is delaying the inevitable and the unthinkable, as the Commanders, who scored before half, scored a touchdown right after half to go up by 10, 24-14. Oh no. It's not looking good. I'm slumping in my seat. I'm thinking it may be over. Can the Steelers show some fight and make a comeback? Well, they do answer, and quickly, as the Steelers drive all the way down the field and run it into the end zone with Najee Harris, bringing the deficit to just 3 points. But then the Commanders, they kick a field goal of their own, bringing the deficit back up to 6, right down the middle for Zane Gonzalez. For once, this isn't sarcasm. This is a barn burner, folks. Later, the Steelers have 3rd and 14. Russ feels the pressure, rolls to his left, sets his feet, and throws a bomb to Pickens, but it's picked off. Pickens does touch the defender down right there, but that's not what we came here for. It's George Pickens' crash out time. Either Pickens knew he touched the guy down or didn't care. because he just started scrapping with Sarah Strill. Some think this is a problem. I think the Steelers have been missing this mean mentality for years. Also, I'd like to argue it's very funny.
And now trailing by 1 score, Jalen is worn down the Commanders as he's Pickens on the defense, and he fumbles at the 1 yard line. Oh no. Game over. 4th quarter, Steelers fumble. It's going to be awful, but no. Russell Wilson shows some vintage Russell Wilson as he scrambles on 2nd and 16 and hits Calvin Austin for a strike, setting up a 3rd and manageable. And that will lead to what, Tom?
3rd and 9, give him the line, and Russ gets immediate pressure in his face, throws up a classic moonball, and there's Mike Williams for the game-winning touchdown. F a red line, we in the goal line, Rodgers. Thank you, Mike Will, for immediately coming in and putting up, and hopefully someone in New York will shut up. Also, Devontae, this could have been you. Alas, Mike Williams with the, spoiler alert, game-winning touchdown, and Steelers are up by 1, 28-27. Lots of time left, though. Steelers stop the Commanders on 4th down by the length of a white man's undercarriage in December. The Steelers run 3 straight times to make the Commanders use all their timeouts. They have to go for it, and everyone knows they won't, except for this absolute moron right here. Thank you, Newton, for the 1st down and the win. Russ is putting that shit on, no AB, and we move on to Baltimore. Here we go. Spicy indeed. For Mr. Unlimited. Which we'll I'll have to get that into a highlight thing. So during those highlights, my voice is crapping out on me big time. So I grabbed this drink here. This is not a sponsorship. I wish we got sponsored by anything at all. It's called Two Chicks. It's called Two Chicks. It is tequila grapefruit cocktail. So talking about football while I drink this Two Chicks drink, Derek, why don't you tell me what you thought about the game?
Well, we said that they couldn't turn over the ball and they had to contain Jaden Daniels. Well, they did just that. Russell did throw his first pick of the year, but he threw 3 touchdowns with it. Come on. And Jaden Daniels was 17-34, like 200 yards. Really didn't get a whole lot moving. And the big thing I saw was the Steelers' time of possession, and they had more rushing yards than the Commanders.
Yeah. One thing I would argue is actually they did turn over the ball is because Russ Wilson had the pick, Warren had the fumble on the 1 yard line, and the fake punt set, even though it was the play design was beautiful, the dude was wide open. I mean, you can't fault the team for trying to do a fake punt when he's wide open. He just didn't catch it. You live with that risk when it's that well executed, and that set the Commanders up on the 15-yard line for an easy touchdown. So it's kind of crazy that they were able to come back from the mistakes they made and the turnovers they had to still be in a position to win that game and win it.
Yeah, they controlled time of possession. They ran the ball better than the other team, and they won the game. Russell Wilson still not really completing a high percentage of his passes, but it's the Commanders. Just get a win, and that's what they did.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of crazy because I think you brought this up last week that you were like, oh, this team feels different. I'm not even a Steelers fan. Where you know what, man? Like, I've been watching the Steelers for a long time, and I can kind of tell when it's kind of chalked up, time to wrap it up, and the season's over, or when you kind of start to believe a little bit. And I'm really starting to buy into this team. I'm really starting to believe a little bit here, because in that game when they were down first by 10, I was like, ugh, this is not looking good. And that's only 10 points. But I was like, ugh, not looking good. Because in the years past, they've had the offense to bring it back. And then when Warren fumbled on the 1, I was like, that's the nail in the coffin, I think. I think it's over. And they were only down by 6. But I was like, it's over. There's nothing they can do about this. It's and I think that's testament to how the past years have gone. Even though Kenny actually did have a lot of game-winning touchdowns for what it's worth, or game-winning drives, I should say. The belief used to be with Big Ben that they would always win these games, and then I was sitting there down 6, like it's over. And for them to come back and come on strong and the defensive play strong, I'm starting to believe in this team. And it might sound weird because I'm a Steelers fan, but I'm really starting to believe in this team, Derek, like full stop into doing some more damage. I'm starting to believe for a potential run here.
Kind of an unbiased third party, and I completely agree. We kind of said last week also that we needed people to get involved, like Patterson, like Mike Williams. Yes, Mike Williams only got one pass, but it was 32 yards, and it was the game winner. And they gave Cordero the ball a little bit. Najee really didn't do a whole lot in the sense of, he had like 21 carries, 50-ish yards. But if you account Warren, yeah, he did fumble, but Warren and Patterson together as like that second back was 17 carries for 80 yards. And if you look at the Commanders, they didn't have that at all. And Jaden Daniels and Russell Wilson had very similar stat lines where they just completed like 50% of their passes and got 200 yards, but Russell Wilson was throwing touchdowns. And the Steelers were scoring. The Steelers were trying things. Like it's a good sign to see for a team that plays things very conservative. However, they are doing a lot of Mike Tomlin things, controlling the time of possession and running the football. So they're marrying the two things together, and that's gonna help them in the playoffs when they play maybe in cold Kansas City, cold Buffalo. Who knows?
Yeah, and I think you need to control the time of possession if you're going to beat some of those teams, especially a team coming to Pittsburgh this weekend, which we'll get to in a second. But it's I don't know. Like, I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want to sound overly optimistic. I try to keep it logical on Northern Steel. If you are a longtime listener, you guys know that it's not a negative place. I'm just trying to keep it logical. I've seen this team win 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime. I know what it takes to get there, but right now the feeling is different in a positive way. You could tell the teams buy in with each other. They're all in for each other. I mean, for them to come back in that scrappy way they did was great. The way everyone reacted when Johnny Newton had that offsides penalty to give him the first down was something I haven't seen from this team in a long time. I mean, the fight from everybody, the anger, the mentality. There's also like, this is going to sound very cliche to you, Derek, but it's more like the Steelers when I was younger. And I'm talking about like when I first started watching, they were winning Super Bowls. So I was in 6th grade through 8th grade. When they were winning those Super Bowls, they really felt like the protagonists of the NFL. Like, they felt like the good guys to me when I was a kid. I was like, this is the main character of the NFL, and they're supposed to win, and they're supposed to do this. Even though Tom Brady was there, it didn't matter. I was like, the stories were built there. I mean, their first Super Bowl, Jerome Bettis came back for one more year. It was a storybook ending. The Super Bowl was played in Detroit, his hometown, and he came back and he got it done. And then the 2008 year, they had the hardest schedule in the league, and they still had a great record, and they were able to get through there and defeat the odds and win the Super Bowl there. And this year, people are making. We're in a year of social media where people are making TikToks and people are making videos trying to hype up the Steelers. And I've seen so many TikToks and reels about the Steelers, and I think it's helping me. It's kind of making me buy in more because I'm like, you know what? This team has a good story too. You got Russell Wilson, who was left for dead because he had rough years in Denver. His team hated him. His coach hated him. So many clips of his teammates yelling at him, being pissed at Russell Wilson. And he's a good dude, and he's revitalizing his career here. It's kind of like a good story with Russ. Now, and also Justin Fields got them 4 wins. Justin Fields getting let go of Chicago, and they're struggling big time. There's talks about players want Caleb Williams to be benched. And Justin Fields got out of that situation and is helping this team win. And there's just a lot of great storylines here that I think paint that picture of nostalgia for me when I was a kid, where it seemed like the Steelers were the main character of this storyline. And I'm feeling that again, which is exciting and nerve-wracking because it hasn't been. So I want to keep my expectations still tethered. But it's getting really pumped. I haven't watched as much Steeler content this past 2 days as I have in a long time.
Yeah, like way back in the glory days, the odds at the early 2000s to 2010s.
Yep.
You had Hines Ward, Antoine Randall, Ben Roethlisberger, that
Troy
one
Polamalu.
running Palomalu. I mean, you had James Harrison. There were so many of those like guys that you were like, oh, these are the dudes of the NFL, not just of the Steelers. They were dudes in the NFL.
Right.
This team doesn't have that, but they have people, like you said, Russell Wilson, Mike Williams now, George Pickens. This is looking very
Yeah.
interesting. And even Russell Wilson now, 3 games in, he's averaging 8.7 yards per attempt.
Yep.
And if you look, Justin Fields had like 6.
Yep.
That 8.7 is up in kind of that Kyle Shanahan territory where you always look and it's like, oh, I don't know about Brock Purdy, or I don't know about Jimmy Garoppolo. It's like, well, these guys throw the ball downfield apparently, or when they throw the ball, it goes far. And yeah, he's not completing a high percentage of his throws, like I've said several times, but it's going downfield. And
He's taking shots. He's taking shots.
And they're happening. I mean, otherwise he wouldn't be up to like 9 yards a throw. That's where, I mean, that is where you want. I'm sure that's among the top in the league. Once again, he's only played 3 weeks so far, but I'm glad he got that pick out of the way almost too, because then that's not in the back of your head. And I feel a guy like Russell Wilson, I don't know, we're always thinking like, oh, when's it going to turn? When's he going to turn into Denver Russell? Which, you know, I don't know if we should look at that. I mean, Jared Goff threw 5 freaking picks and won a game. And we were just obsessed about him and the spree he was on. And Jared Goff was in another kind of similar range where like Jared Goff's a dude. Yeah. And when he got traded, everyone thought he was trash, but like he wasn't trash. He's a good quarterback, and under the right system, things work out. And so far it's working out for Wilson. They have a big time test though this coming week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're going to need to the play to continue. Oh, and that's the other thing too, and I'll get to that in a second, but like in the 3 weeks that Russ has started, they're averaging 30 points a game. It's 30.3. And I know it's hard to keep up, but if you want to be a Super Bowl team and you want to be competitive in the NFL, you kind of have to. And hopefully they can. And I'll kind of get to reasons why in a little bit. But as you said, tough team coming in. The Steelers are playing the Baltimore Ravens this week. Not on primetime, on noon, and also in Minnesota, not on TV, because the Vikings are on CBS and so are the Steelers and Ravens. So can't wait for that. We'll love to not watch this game. But huge game, absolutely massive game. The Ravens are kind of the opposite of the Ravens this year. They're or what they've been in the past. They are top 3 team in offense, rushing and passing and scoring, and kind of middle to bottom in defense. Specifically, passing defense is last in the league. Rushing defense is top 10, but passing defense is very last in the league.
And they give up points. We've seen them give up a lot of points, but they score a lot of points. This is going to be a real test, though, because, you know, this last week they went on the road and they played Jaden Daniels and Austin Eckler, and Robinson wasn't healthy.
Nope.
So, I mean,
and
not
Terry.
that, you know, not to diss Eckler at all, but you have the king coming in, and when you take a shot at the king, you best not miss.
No, totally. That's going to bring us to a segment we like to call Keys to the Game. And my keys to the game, Derek, and you can offer your own keys to the game too. My keys to the game might surprise people out there because I know the defense still let up 27 points to the Commanders. To me, my keys to the game are all offensive because I think the defense, this could be a shootout. This is going to sound stupid. It's going to sound like a Chris Collinsworth comment. This could be a shootout, or they could do what they always do to Lamar because they've had Lamar's number for years. Lamar, and I don't think that means anything. Don't get me wrong. But they've had Lamar's number. He's has like 4 touchdowns and 7 picks, plus like 4 or 5 lost fumbles, 20 or so sacks. He's like 1-4 against the Steelers. He doesn't do very good against them. Steelers are his kryptonite. So it's either that keeps up, which would be awesome, but that's really hard to do to keep that up for that long. Or this is the game he breaks through, which wouldn't shock me. He's been having that good of a year. He actually, like we said last week, he actually deserves MVP this year, unlike last year. So if he breaks through this week and has a great week, that would not shock me at all. A lot of Steelers fans online are like, Lamar sucks against the Steelers. He has. He really has. But if he breaks through this week, I'm not going to be like, what? How? He's been good. So my keys to the game are offensive. The Ravens have the top 10 rushing defense. That's what they like, and the Steelers like to run the ball, obviously. They did it a lot in this past game. So you kind of need to break the mold, get away from that. We just talked about Russ a lot. This game kind of relies on Russ. Ravens have the 32nd worst. They have the worst passing defense in the league, by far, the worst. You got to pass the ball, and you got to score. You can still run the ball because time of possession is huge on this team because they score quick. You got to keep the ball out of their hands. You got to run the clock down. I understand that, but you got to be able to pass the ball well and score points. So red zone efficiency has to be 100%, just like it was last week. So passing game's got to be stellar. They need to same thing we talked about last week, win the turnover battle or not make mistakes in general, because this team can score fast. The Ravens can. So don't give the ball away. But if you win the turnover battle, it's only, way better, obviously. Got to make up for that. And the last one would be with the run game being top 10, finding a way to wear them down. And I think like we talked about Cordell Patterson and Jalen Warren coming in relief. And I love those guys. I especially love Jalen Warren, which is awesome. Naj kind of needs to be able to get those touches to get it rolling. So if they can find a lead to just get him rolling enough to where he can really grind that team down, because I think he can do that. But otherwise, like the Ravens offense to me, it is what it is, which is good. So it's either the defense is going to struggle against it because everyone in the NFL has, or they're going to shut down Lamar like they have been doing. The Ravens, 3 losses this year, they've scored under 24 points. So can the Steelers stop them from scoring 24 points? I guess is the main question. I think they could, but they score a lot of points sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, they are an offensive juggernaut. And kind of like you were saying, the kryptonite for Lamar Jackson is the Steelers. But if there's anyone that's close to Superman, it for sure is Lamar Jackson. He's going to be probably the first quarterback to have a 4,000-yard passing, 1,000-yard rushing season, or he's on pace for that. Who knows? But the guy is playing off his marbles. But I think the key to the game, yes, you have to stop Lamar Jackson, but I think the big one is stopping Derrick Henry. Sure. The Bengals last week, it was a shootout, but they contained Derrick Henry. Yep. And if you kind of get him in that same kind of territory where Naj was, where he has 15, 20 carries and like 50, 60 yards, that's a win. Yeah. So I think you have to contain Derrick Henry. I don't know. I don't know what happens after that, because I don't know if you can contain Derrick Henry and also Lamar Jackson. It's almost like contain Derrick Henry and they score 24 points.
I think you live with that. I think if you contain Derrick Henry and you put the ball on Lamar's shoulders, not to say that he sucks, but you live with the result you get after that.
Exactly.
He either, like I said, he either balls out or he doesn't, and you live with that.
And on the flip side, Naj has to get going. I was kind of looking at the offense and I'm like, ooh, Russ Wilson, he needs to like show up and complete way more, like getting that 60 to 70% range for completion percentage. It's like, well, actually, if he just keeps taking what the defense gives him, and they have Naj with those 21 carries, which he got last week, still have that same workload where you get 20 to 25, but he needs to take that for 80, 90, 100 yards. He needs to wear this defense out. Yep. And let's get him in the end zone. Like let's bring back like Pro Bowl Naj. I mean, he's having a good year, but
I think he's having his best years of his career personally.
Right. It just doesn't it's streaky almost. And people can, like me, what I'm doing right now is like kind of harping on him because like, oh, he didn't have like a ball out game, but I mean, they have other weapons too.
So Naj like throughout his career only had like 3 or 4 100-yard games, and then before this last one had 3 100-yard games in a row. So I would say that this year he's doing his best career year in terms of like yards per carry as well too, because his carry amounts been down, but his yards per carry has been up. It's like around like 4.4, I think, when usually it's been like 3.8, 3.9. So to me, this is like his best year he's having, and then also. But yeah, man. I mean, the running game is gonna play a huge part of it. It's just I don't have, I guess, like I don't want to see them force something that isn't there because that is something that the Steelers can do with Mike Tomlin team. I know they like to run the ball. I don't want to see them force run and run and run, and it's not working. It's not working just because that's your identity. If it's not working, and you know what, if Russ has got to pass 40 times this game, that's what we got to do.
Exactly.
So,
Let's do it. And they definitely can. I don't think he's had like I mean, he's been in that 260, 270, but if he has to get in like a shootout with Lamar, and it's kind of like the Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson showdowns that we've seen this year, let's do it.
I agree. And we'll see what happens. To go to their roster for a second, I mean, we all know their offensive side is probably full of Pro Bowl players at every single position besides possibly a receiver, but the receivers are no slouches either. But you have Lamar, Derrick Henry. At wide receiver, you have Zay Flowers, Bateman, and Deontay Johnson. Rip, who Tomlin just ripped in his conference this week. Mark Andrews at tight end and Isaiah Likely at tight end were pretty big. Patrick Carter, fullback, is great. Ronnie Stanley, left tackle. Patrick McCarry, left guard. Tyler Linderbaum at center, who's a stud. Daniel Falele at right guard is pretty good. And Roger Rosengarten at right tackle going against TJ Watt. But then on the defense that they've been struggling on, I mean, there's a reason you got Nande Metabuke not having a great year. Travis Jones out of UConn, who I wanted the Steelers to get at one point. Not sure how he's doing, but that's there. Broderick Washington, Odafe Owe, Roquan Smith, who's having a down year without Patrick Queen. Trenton Simpson, who I loved coming out of college. I'm not sure how he's doing, but I did like him a lot. Kyle Van Noy, Nate Wiggins, who George Pickens can bully. Kyle Hamilton, who might not play. Marcus Williams, who gave up the Minneapolis Miracle.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I say that every single time. Brandon Stevens on the other right cornerback side. They also got Tre'Davious White in trade last week. And then Marlo Humphrey, who also George Pickens picks on a lot. So, yeah, we all know the team. They've been playing them all year. This AFC North is back the way it should be. Steelers and Ravens for the top. Ohio teams scrounging at the bottom.
Would you say, Dom? Would you say that this might be a more important game for the Ravens?
So here's what I don't know, but you reminded me what I wanted to talk about with this is, and this is not a pessimistic take, okay? This is actual analytics stats. I've done there's a website where you can pick the winners of every single game for every team from now to the playoffs. And it'll do the seeding and it'll tell you who makes the playoffs. If the Steelers do not sweep the Ravens, I am very positive, unless the Ravens collapse and lose games that they shouldn't, that they will not win the division. The schedule for the Ravens is a little more favorable than the Steelers. If the Steelers still have to play a strong season, but if they do not sweep the Ravens, they will not have a chance at the division, is my honest opinion.
I think I agree with you there because it's kind of like an offensive-driven league. And if you look at it, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, I mean, these Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, these guys are loaded. Not saying the Steelers don't have a great offense, but it's just different looking. And I mean, come on, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Nobody has that in the league. Maybe you could make an argument for Josh Allen and James Cook, but I mean, it's Derrick Henry.
So if the Steelers lose this week, obviously the players are going to keep playing for the division because you never know what's going to happen. Ravens still could lose a stinker here and there, but with the way that I've done the predictions and I've seen the Ravens schedule, if the Steelers lose this week, it's, as a fan, I'm kind of like, ugh, now we're playing for a wild card, and that kind of sucks. And it doesn't take the wind out of my sails completely. They could still find ways to win or whatever. But to win the division, they have to sweep them, and it starts here. So I'm not sure about the importance of the Ravens, but to me, this game's very important for the Steelers because they could still lose 2 games. I think they could split with Cincinnati. I think they could lose one of the 2 between the Eagles and Chiefs, not both, one of the 2. But they have to sweep the Browns. They got to sweep the Ravens, and they can win the division.
Yeah, they do not have the easiest schedule ahead. I get it that Cincinnati has a losing record, but by no means they are tough. Their
defense also sucks too, but they're tough.
They are tough. They have the second best quarterback in the league right now, and I mean, correct. It's just tough. It's tough.
And the second worst defense in the league. So,
oof.
That's the way it goes.
We kind of talked last week about how this Commanders game was so important for the Steelers as well. Yeah. And I think something else we also mentioned was Justin Fields. We were like, is he going to get going in the red zone? Are we going to put him as a gadget guy at Taysom Hill? Is there anything else in the Steelers offense that they could do to maybe kind of pull out all stops? Because at this point, you're 7-2 and you're going up against the Ravens. Like, you got to maybe show something else. Or I guess you just run the ball really well and control time of possession and not turn over the ball.
I would say that, like, it's hard to say because Russell Wilson doesn't do this very well in general. He doesn't look this way a lot. But I'd like to see more plays towards the middle of the field, crossers or whatever else, because he doesn't look at the middle of the field a lot. Pat Freiermuth got more involved this last game, which is great, but those are more on slight crossers or outside flat routes. But he did try to throw one quick deep pass over the middle, and he had him open, but they had pass interference on the defense, so they had to bring it back. But I'm not really sure. I mean, they use kind of all their weapons, you know what I mean? And Arthur Smith's playbook's nothing. I mean, way better than Matt Canada's playbook, but that bar is in hell. So, I mean, it wasn't too hard to get better at that. So I don't think Matt Canada's playbook is anything too, or sorry, Arthur Smith's playbook is anything too crazy either. So I'm not really sure what they could do besides just keep playing their game. I mean, I trust Pickens, I guess. So and I think Mike Williams is going to get more involved. But I just trust Pickens and what he can do because he's just a freak. So just keep doing their thing and try to pass the ball and get downfield, I guess.
Right. And then I guess just as the more time that Mike Williams gets in practice, gets reps, he's going to be more familiar with everything. I also, I may have thrown some, not so good vibes towards this way, but Van Jefferson, he's somebody else who is also playing really good. Yeah. It's like, well, if Russell Wilson does throw the ball 35 times this game, maybe he does complete 20 to 25 of them. Like he gets in that 24 completions, 10 incompletions, and he's got like 8 to Pickens, 5 to Freiermuth, 5 to Jefferson, and then a couple to Mike Williams as well. Just kind of gets the ball moving overall.
Can't forget Calvin Austin, who's speedy.
Calvin Austin as well. Geez, I forgot about him. He was in the highlights this week.
It feels like there's enough people. A lot of people made fun of the Steelers' weapons before the season started, but it feels like there's enough people there to pass it around the rock and be somewhat dangerous with it. I also want to bring up
no pun intended on the dangerous.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I also want to point out this is kind of random, not to like talk smack on the Bills, but I was like, oh man, the Bills are so good this year, and Josh Allen's playing great, which he is. Not a lot of interceptions, but I like looked at their schedule on who they've played so far. They haven't played anybody. I don't know why people aren't talking about that more. They've lost two. They've lost 2 games, and it's to 2 teams with winning records, which is the Ravens and the Bills. Or sorry, Ravens and Texans are their 2 losses, but their wins are against Patriots, Jets, Dolphins, Colts, Cardinals. It's like Cardinals week 1, by the way, when they weren't as good as they are now. And it's just like who have they beaten? I don't know.
That's true.
But they got their test this week. And speaking of, let's go to the picks and wrap this thing up because I need some water.
I need some water.
Water.
Pinky!
Okay. Thursday Night Football, Commanders at Eagles.
This one's tough.
It's a good one.
Oh, it's very tough. I really want to. Who's the home team?
Eagles.
I really want to pick the Commanders, but I'm going to keep being that guy. Sirianni's going to win this. We're all going to hate it. Saquon's going to get rolling. Because the Commanders are going to be in a little bit of a crisis here. I'm going to go Eagles.
I'm going to go Commanders.
See, that's what I want to do. I want a little back and forth here. Just like
I don't know why. I mean, Saquon's great. Don't get me wrong. He's been phenomenal for the Eagles. And I think it's, you can call me a not ball knower. I just don't watch enough Eagles games, I guess. I just don't feel like they're doing as good. Am I like crazy to think that? I just feel like they're not like, they feel kind of like weird. They're winning games. They just don't feel like good.
I feel they were weird when they were 4-2 and everyone was going, oh, the coaches suck. Well, now they're 7-2. Saquon has his Michael Jordan moment. Jalen Hurts is playing good football. I think they found a groove, and I don't think people expect them to win, and I think they're going to win.
That's fair. Maybe they do win. I mean, it's a tough game. I'm going to go Commanders, though, because, I don't know. I like them more. They're cool.
Oh, yeah.
I got no beef.
You have Jaden Daniels has a better arm than Lamar Jackson. You said something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course he does.
He's a better quarterback or something. I don't know. It was weird.
He is. And I'll be on record to say that he is.
Can't even beat Jalen Hurts.
We'll see. Raiders at Dolphins. Game of the week, probably.
Game of the who cares? Who cares? You know what? Dolphins, I wouldn't be surprised if they went ahead and lost this. I mean, Tyreek Hill had 2 catches for 13 yards and a touchdown finally.
Right. Which is just
it's cool. They beat the Rams in a game that the Rams should have just walked away with.
I agree. I don't know why Stafford sucks so bad. That was weird.
But Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm going to go Dolphins too. Browns at Saints. Jameis Winston revenge story.
I'm sticking with Jameis. Let's go. Let's go, Jameis.
Yeah, I'm probably picking the Browns too, but Derek, you're new around here, so my motto is actually F the Browns. So I usually pick them to lose. So F the Browns. I hope they lose every game they ever play. And I hope they suffer for another 60 years, but I'm going to go Browns this one. I think they actually do win. Vikings at Titans. Sounds easy.
God, it sounded easy last week, didn't it?
It sure did.
I guess which Sam Darnold is going to show up? I had a lot of people messaging me like, oh my gosh, do we put in Nick Mullins? It's like, no, they're 7-2. Like, yeah. I still think Sam Darnold can play a horrible game and they still will beat the Titans. Although, as once again, a Vikings fan, they're 7-2. And every game, I'm still super nervous. I hope this was a wake-up call for Darnold, and I really hope they take it away. Vikings, but I'm going to close my eyes.
My advice is, I don't know. Don't get nervous for games where they should win. Just accept it. Just accept the embarrassing defeat if they lose. Because Chris usually goes, oh, I'm so nervous for this game when we're playing the 1-15 Browns. And I'm like, I'm not nervous. If they lose, that sucks for them and sucks for me. I'm not nervous. Fuck that. It's like F them. So I say Vikings win this game. I say they win it easily, but we'll see. And maybe they win it 13-7 instead of 12-7. We'll see. Packers at Bears.
Packers. Boy, some things happened today, didn't they?
Yeah, was it today?
It was today.
Yeah, Shane Waldron fired for the Bears offensive coordinator.
I mean, they still have their O-line coach, so their O-line's been playing great, haven't they?
Right. And like I said, too, there was a report, whether true or not, that Bears veterans have requested Tyler Badgett instead. So, I don't know. It's a mess over there. I kind of feel bad for Caleb. Don't feel bad for Bears fans who we're trashing Steelers for getting Justin Fields, and he's been way better this year. Who has the same amount of touchdowns as Caleb Williams and hasn't played for 4 weeks. I'm going to go Packers as well.
Well, and maybe Caleb Williams might have to text his punter and be like, hey, buddy, you're going to have your work in this week. You're going to be punting.
He has more yards punted than the Bears have offensively. So next is Jags at Lions.
Lions.
Yeah, in a rout, I'm assuming.
If Jared Goff can throw 5 picks against the Texans and win, he can throw 10 picks against this team and win.
Next is Rams at Patriots.
Boy, I've been picking against the Patriots all the time.
I was just going to say that.
It really bit me last week. But you know what? Fuck them. Fuck them, okay? Let's go Rams.
I don't think I've picked the Patriots once this year. I'm still not going to.
You did last week.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
I did?
Oh, wait,
against the Bears? No,
yeah,
I didn't.
You picked the Patriots against the Bears, and I picked the Bears.
Someone fact check that. I'm just kidding. Don't listen to these episodes. I'm going to pick the Rams.
Dom's wrong.
He's wrong. Ravens at Steelers.
God.
Pick who you want. Pick who you want. Pick who you want.
As I came on, you said I'm supposed to be a positive force here.
No, Steelers, I want you to pick who you want.
I am going to pick who I want, and I'm going to be a harbinger of positivity. I don't know if that sentence made sense. Steelers are going to win. We talked about the keys of the game. They're going to win.
Well, listen, I don't pick against the Steelers unless Mitch Trubisky's at quarterback. So I'm picking Steelers.
Ooh, Mitch shade.
Win is or not. Seahawks at 49ers.
Niners, I guess. What a weird division this year.
It is. And the Niners don't really seem that good for some reason. But also neither does Seattle. And yet they all don't seem good. I don't know. I'm going Niners too. But yeah, they are weird. None of them seem good. Should be like one of the strongest divisions in the NFC, and none of them seem good.
No, they're all like 500 teams, and for some reason Arizona's leading, and you're like, what? Okay.
Even with Call of Duty out?
Yeah, right. Ever since Call of Duty came out, he's actually been lighting it up.
He has been. Falcons at Broncos.
I picked the Falcons last week, and they totally boned me. And the Broncos almost upset us, minus, that freak field goal at the end. They should have beat the undefeated Chiefs.
I said that too. I said that the Broncos can beat the Chiefs. I just didn't think it'd be in KC, but they still did almost.
Last week I said I'm picking Kirk. I'm sticking with Kirk. You know what? This might be one of those times where Kirk starts slipping a couple games against some kind of gimmies, but I'm going to go Falcons.
This is tough game. It's a tough game. The Falcons really need to win. A part of me wants to go Falcons because I kind of don't like the Broncos either. Their fan base was pissing me off all year, and they still do online. So my bias is showing. But I think the Broncos, that's a tough place to play. In Mile High, and I don't know if that's what they call it still, but people need oxygen. It's hard to throw, hard to kick. Broncos got good defense. I don't know. I'll go Falcons too because I'm on hate watch, but I don't know. I can see Broncos winning.
Well, and we talk like the Falcons have to win it. I mean, they're going to win the division. The Bucs have just they're hurt and they're just slipping games, but I almost think the Falcons need to win it just to convince themselves they can do something come postseason time.
Yeah, I think that's what I mean. I kind of feel like they have to win it just to prove it to themselves that they are good if they want to believe that. Because that's what I was saying about the Jets, and I've given up on that. So, Chiefs at Bills. Here's the game.
Bills. Let's take them down finally. You did say that they have not played anyone this year, but I don't know. The Chiefs have just been shitty.
Yeah, I agree.
They're the shittiest 9-0 team I've ever seen. Maybe apart from when the Steelers went 11-0.
I knew you were going to say that. I mean,
Ooh.
I can't disagree. I feel the same way.
I had that loaded up since we started the picks. I'm like, oh, remember to mention when they went 11-0 and they were actually shit.
Yeah, I felt that way too in that time. I was like, this team's not very good.
Like
I don't know why they keep winning.
Ben had a noodle arm.
Yeah.
But
and they would lose games. We already said this last week, but they would lose games and Tomlin was like, that's okay, we're 11-1. They lose the next one. That's okay, we're 11-2. And then they lose another one. That's okay. And I'm like, no, change your scheme. You guys aren't good enough. Change your scheme. But everyone was like, we were 11-0. We're good. You're not good. Change it up.
Is Taylor going to be there?
In Buffalo? Get real. No way.
Okay, thank God. Taylor's there. Yeah. That might change things.
I actually don't know. She could be. I have no idea.
Fuck it, Bills.
I think I'm going to go Bills too. Because I don't think the Chiefs are as good either. The funny meme, though, is that everyone on TikTok is picking next week's Chiefs game for them to lose. Do you know who they play next week?
The Steelers?
No.
Well, I don't know.
The Panthers.
Nice. Bold move, God.
That's the meme that everyone's picking is the Panthers beat them. Next is Bengals at Chargers.
Oh, this is not a tough one. No, Bengals are winning.
It kind of is.
No, don't overthink it. Bengals are going to win. I just don't trust the Chargers quite yet. They are good, but I don't know. They never gave Herbert any weapons, really.
Yeah, I know.
I think they can definitely get into a shootout, and I think if this is a shootout, I think Joe Burrow's going to take away. I think he's going to take away a win. I think they're also hungry to like just claw their way into the wild card spot.
Chargers have a top defense, top 5, top 10 defense. They've been playing really stout all year. The run game has been good. The Bengals, I get it, picking the Bengals after just watching him explode on Thursday night against the Ravens and should have beaten them. It's funny too because here's the thing: they should have beat the Ravens both times they played them, and the Ravens would be 5-5 right now, and the Bengals would be
6-4.
6-4, yeah. Like how different that would look like story wise,
right?
Because they barely lost both games. They lost the first one off a missed field goal, and they lost this one off of missed flags on a 2-point conversion. Well, so they were so close to winning both of them. The Bengals, though, they look so good against the Ravens, but the Ravens' defense is that bad. They really are that bad, and I just don't. If they prove me wrong, great. I just don't think Jamar Chase is having 300 yards again. And this defense is a lot better. So we'll see how they go against them. Because that happened to another game where we were like, oh, Joe Burrow's so good. And then they played the Eagles, and they lost like 34-17 with a better defense from the Eagles.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick Chargers. And if they prove me wrong, great. But I'm picking Chargers. Then you got in a Sunday night game, real fun one. Actually, I'm pretty sure Bengals Chargers is Sunday night. They swatched it. This Google thing is old, but I'm pretty sure Bengals Chargers Sunday night. So this game's actually earlier. It's Colts at Jets.
Well, we know Dom's picking the Jets because he loves them. That didn't age well.
I actually don't know. I actually might pick the Jets because I don't know who to pick this.
As I said that, I'm like, oddly enough, I think I'm going to choose the Jets as well. But
Joe Flacco's been kind of sucking butt, though.
Right. But who believes anymore? Like, this just seems like this is worse than the Brett Favre Jet year.
Yeah.
The Brett Favre Jet year, he was like, whoa, look, 7 touchdowns. Whoa. Hey.
Well, he was also like 8-8.
He was breaking rules. He was getting massages. He was sending picks. Favre was all over the place. They made the Kurt Warner movie. They need to make the Brett Favre movie.
No, that's okay.
Oh, they need to make it. It's just 3 straight MVPs, popping pills out at the bars.
Poppin' Johnson's out of Wrangler jeans.
Yeah. You get Wrangler to, throw some money in there and he'll be wearing them in every scene. But
God.
Okay, fine. Jets, whatever.
I want to go Jets too, but I don't really care. How about that? How about that? And then the last game, the schedule makers who make the schedule in May, they were cooking. Unfortunately, this game sucks now. It's terrible. It's Texans at Cowboys.
It is terrible, but it's only terrible for one team. Listen, the Texans.
For the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Texans, I get it. They're banged up. Diggs is out. Nico Collins hasn't been healthy, but and they're saying CJ Stroud's in this sophomore slump. It's pretty sure his passer rating's around 100, and he's still just a leader of a ball club.
I actually looked this up the other day. It's the reason why he's in this so-called sophomore slump is because he's been sacked a lot this year, and he is second on the list of sacked quarterbacks this year at 34.
Ooh.
CJ, Caleb Williams is number 1 because he got sacked 9 times last week against New England at 38. And music to my ears, Deshaun Watson is third on the list after only playing 7 games at 33.
Oof. Oof. Well, and actually, I just live time fact checked myself after the Lions game here. His passer rating's 90.
Sure.
But he's not playing that bad. He is definitely not the problem. Actually, nobody's really the problem. They just have injuries.
It's just the matchup sucks. I mean, I'm not saying it because I think the Texans are bad. It's just because it's I want to watch good football. I don't care to watch Cooper Rush. I'd rather watch Trey Lance, I guess, but I don't care about Cooper Rush.
And whatever, Trey Lance came in garbage minutes and threw that pick or whatever. I didn't see it, but I'm also Cooper Rush threw for 45 yards. No one needs to see that again. And then I don't need to hear on it's just well, we trust in Cooper. Cooper Rush is a great guy and he's going to be a good quarterback and he's going to lead the team. It's no different than Dak. It's no, Dak is Dak. He's good. And without him, they are a bunch of lawn chairs and CeeDee Lamb. So maybe throw in Trey Lance and say, hey, every play is a punt. Go punt it.
Throw it to CeeDee for my fantasy team's sake, please.
Yeah.
Because CeeDee's going to be riding the bench for the time being until I see some plays go to him. So, yeah, that's it. That's all the game picks.
That's all of them. We did it.
We did it. My voice is shot. Thank you for suffering through that listen. I appreciate you. This is the Northern Steel Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, MySpace, Tinder, Grindr, and Bumble.com. All our dating profiles are on there. Mm-hmm. You can look us up. We come as a collective unit, and our dates do consist of donation monies. Thank you very much. Derek, do you have any last words to the people?
This is a big one. Okay. If you swing at the king, you best not miss.
Okay. How about this? Baltimore Ravens, more like Baltimore Raisins. My son said that the other day. I thought it was very funny. Okay. That's it. See you guys next week. Peace.